Thank you all very much for coming to our East Grinstead Town Council planning meeting tonight, 9th of April 2025. It's 2024 then. So to begin, I have apologies for absence. We had Councillor Peacock and Councillor Pond, who were both given apologies for this evening. Have I missed anyone? Thank you very much. So I would like to propose that we accept those apologies. Can I have a second, please?
Second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Winston. Can I have a vote to approve, please? Thank you very much. That's carried. Next up, to receive the minutes of the meeting held 17th of March 2025. I would like to propose that, well, one thing I'll say before that is I may have got ahead of myself at the Town Council meeting on Monday, where I said that we would review the minutes of 24th. I gather that's going to be carried over to the next planning meeting, so
That's
right.
Yeah.
I believe that's right. I believe Councillor Pond was the one who wanted that, and so he might be around or did actually, so that might be quite appropriate. Anyway, furthermore, I propose that the committee minutes of the 17th of March 2025 be approved as a true and correct record of the meeting. May I have a second, please?
Second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Whittaker. Does anyone have any comments on? Fantastic. Can I take a vote on that, please? Thank you very much. That's carried. Can you make sure I don't sign? Okay, item number 3, to receive members' declarations of interest. I'll begin by saying I am an employee of the Warwickshire Hospital Trust. So whilst the land to the route PDH is on the agenda, I would move for or against on that particular item. Do we have any further declarations?
Thank you, Chair. My usual one, please. I'm a member of Middlesex District Council District Planning Committee, where one of these applications for Warwickshire Hospital is likely to come up before that committee, as it did before on the previous application. So I reserve my right to consider my views from this evening to it does come to that meeting. Additionally, tonight I can comment on it, but I will not be voting in it because I'm on that committee, and that's the advice I've been given by the district council.
No, perfectly sound. Thank you very much. So,
Do I have to declare that I'm a stakeholder governor?
I don't suppose it do any harm. I'm guessing because it's through the town council, perhaps it's not really an issue, but it's certainly do.
Well,
Thank you very much. Okay. You know, we vote on the we just note those, and we always forget to vote on it anymore.
I could also mention that I'm on license.
Yes, okay, it's on there, but yeah,
Yeah, as if we could forget.
it's a standard one, isn't it?
Okay, Chairman's announcements. My key announcement tonight was about the Evergreen Farm situation. Me and Councillor Whittaker and Councillor Belzy, through the kind facilitation of Councillor Ian Gibson, and a site visit to Evergreen Farm, which is quite beneficial, but obviously that is an item that's going to come up. I did have another announcement. Oh, it's just regarding Councillor Whittaker kindly circulated the Secretary of State approving the development consent order for Rampion 2. which is from an offshore wind farm, of which the general work will affect the district in some fashion, particularly with Walsham and Barnsley. So it's also words in the chair's announcement screen. And for what it's worth, the Mid Sussex EV charging point consultation has mentioned a couple of properties in East Grinstead, in the Horn, and Ashurst in EG South. That's all my announcements. Does anyone have any comments on that? Fantastic, thank you very much. Licensing applications. We have one LI 25 for the Fabric Beacon, King Street, which is to remove condition. I did try to actually look at this and I didn't really follow. I don't know if my I did see that the premises, the license was expiring. I don't know if that's just a formality of expiring and having to, yeah.
So
No.
it will go to John then.
But yeah, I'm sure the powers that be will look at that in whichever fashion we need to. Does anyone have any comments on this? We'll get to it. Okay, so that's noted.
Okay.
Right, sorry, yeah, I should have asked it at the moment, but thank you very much. Right, okay, our esteemed guests, I think, are up next. Presentation by Bex, Capital Partners, 77 to 89 London Road, East Grinstead. So Hassan and Paul will be giving us a bit of an outline, I think, for around 10 minutes, hopefully, for what you propose.
Yeah, should this
Over there.
Wherever comfortable, you can stand at the front. Ideal, really, but
Yeah, that's fine.
So I guess probably best to start with who we are. So as I said, the managing for Betts Capital Partners. So Betts as a group of companies, we have a very long-term standing and affiliation with East Grinstead, born and raised here personally, and we are significant long-term stakeholders in the town, having developed many of the properties within the vicinity of the high street. More recently, we are acquiring properties which we see some long-term economic benefit in terms of regeneration, and this particular scheme is the scheme. So I think we should start with this particular image, existing, which we can pass around, which highlights the site. So the site is 77 to 89 London Road, incorporating the Prader shops and all of the rear overlooking the town car park. Pass it around. So as it stands, we have a number of large retail units which are unfortunately vacant, one of which, the bar store, has been vacant for almost coming up to 10 years in a significant disrepair. And given where the retail demand is for these types of units at the moment, well, I mean, I'd say given where there is no retail demand. So we have done an extensive national search. My background is actually in retail property investment. We know all of the large retailers personally, and have done a significant marketing campaign on the two large units. And to be honest with you, have come up with nothing. And that's, the big names, the B&Qs, Tesco's, etc. Where we have seen significant demand is for shortened spaces, so about 1,500 square feet. We see actually quite strong demand, and from national retailers as well. So we see the value in really pushing that drive and in getting these two units let, and which will really help regenerate this part of the high street, which I'm sure is anything sort of left of those traffic lights is struggling. Now, what do we do with the rear, which is effectively, as I said, it's falling down and needs significant repair. The economic cost of doing so doesn't warrant the interest from the retail. So we've looked at several options, how we can sort of expand our ideas. One of which is what we're presenting tonight is a co-living scheme. So co-living is really flourishing in the bigger cities and around in London, Birmingham, etc., where unlike traditional housing, it is fostering a sense of community whereby you focus on amenity space. So, for example, there are a number of units, but incorporating in the building, you have co-working spaces, you have gyms, you have laundry facilities, 24 hours in terms of staffing, and this is our initial scheme. So we can present what we're planning, which we'll pop around.
So that's the view from the car park. So essentially the historic buildings retained, everything that's in addition, so like the sheds at the back are going to be removed.
So really, what is the benefit of co-living? So, I mean, first of all, we're addressing the housing shortage, and as I mentioned, the co-living concept in general is fostering a sense of community. So, you encourage you encourage the mix internally. So you have your shared facilities like the laundry, you have your gyms, you have your co-working spaces, etc. For those of us who work from home, and so on. But the main point here is the revitalisation of this part of the high street. There's a significant amount of investment to go into developing something like this. And yeah, I mean, just
Yeah, I mean, the concept of co-living is something that is new, it is unique. It's unique in as much as what you're offering. Also, it's purely for rental. So it's designed for a transient sort of population, right? Really, like 20-something. So it's the step between perhaps leaving home before perhaps get your property, or somewhere in between. So yeah, it's between 6 months and 3 years. And yeah, like I said, it really is about once you're in the space, it's 40 units, but 40 individuals, which are all like user communal spaces. The workspaces will be communal. Social spaces. So once you're in the space, it is a real little community within that space.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think the other thing is the flexibility. So typical terms are anywhere from a short 3 months to say 3 years, as you mentioned, but also it allows for catering for premature hospital in terms of doctors coming in, or the transient who are looking to in between moving from permanent residence to that fills that space. It appeals to the younger crowd, but the key thing is it's all encompassing. So all your rent, rates, electricity, utility bills, everything is included into that one monthly payment. So yeah, it's kind of hassle free.
Yeah, I think at the moment, this is at pre-application stage, and we take the opportunity to do something quite bold because what's at the moment, it's not eyesore, but it's been added to and it's been messed around with, and the overlook is the car park. So we thought that area have something bold, have a bold architectural vision for it. There is no real context to go against because, like I say, it backs onto the car park. So yeah, it brings in this whole thing about regeneration, but while retaining the historic, period property at the front. So the model demonstrates that from the street scene, the building will be completely obscured by the buildings at the front.
Is there a typical floor plan?
Yeah. So the units are 28 square meters, and that is, and they're replicated, so they're all identical, replicated throughout the whole building.
The scheme plan.
But each floor will have a communal workspace. The ground floor will have dominantly the shared spaces, the gym, communal living spaces.
Emphasising on the green areas as well. you know, a roof garden space in, you know, which provides that urban living. Every unit has its own balcony, so you have your outdoor space. And in terms of the overlooking aspect, you're overlooking the car parks, you're not overlooking any other residential property.
Are there any schemes like this in East Grinstead or in Mid Sussex at all that you know?
No.
This is
So this would be a pioneer.
Yeah. The closest coding scheme to us at the moment. Right.
Okay.
See, I mean, it is fundamentally, you know, the policy that is going, well, it's essentially to allow for like more units with, you know, in a small space essentially, but then you're adding these things around the edges. So, you know, you're not just creating like these residents, you're creating like the community as explained and, you know, what it can offer. And it's massively popular in like, myself and I went to visit one in Croydon, 800 units, key location right by the train station, yeah, like very sort of, both like transient sort of like people there. I think it's like 90% occupied. So yeah, it's something that I think it started in the cities and it was spread out.
And who would sort of manage the block?
The block is managed professionally by
An agent? or something like
yeah, exactly. A team of 24 hour man.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, you would need that in terms of, you know, maintaining obviously cleanliness within the building, but also, you know, there's no antisocial behaviour, etc.
that? Okay.
So it's like a concierge almost. So you come in akin to a hotel.
So secure.
Secure,
Yeah, exactly.
But the model also allows, you know, because of the flexibility, you know, to allow, you know, units to be made available to the local authority or to be, you know, that's it, short-term workers, key workers, and so on.
It's all very much more into it than I actually realised previously. Given that you're at the pre-application stage, I'm not sure if you might bump into hurdles in terms of like trying to do quite so much in that kind of a space. If for argument's sake, building regs or someone you're kind of, can you be put down? Like, would you reduce if you had to, or are you kind of quite set on you think this is workable, this is kind of what we want, or are you quite sort of stage open to discussion about how much you can actually kind of get in that area, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you'll appreciate, you know, a town centre regeneration of this scale needs to be economically viable to work. I mean, you're talking several million, you know, in terms of this into this scheme. But really, in terms of the numbers of the room, it's not a ratio that we're, you know, just pulling out of it. This is a ratio which is fixed, a sort of tried and tested model across many schemes across major cities in London. And yeah, we can play around with numbers, of course we can, but ultimately, you know, what we've seen and the evidence has shown is the kind of unit ratio that we're talking about. It works, basically.
And there is the need for it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and there is.
So have you done, when you say there is a need, have you done sort of research on that need, you know, and the needs research sort of report? Is that data available?
We have. Yeah. I mean, you know, we're, as I said, you know, we've invested significantly in the town. You know, we know the trends, and we've done a lot of work in the background in terms of, you know, building up where we think the numbers need to be for the scheme to work, which we obviously can make available. It's not.
And is this, I mean, I appreciate you're a developer, but is the site, what's the sort of contract status of the site? Is it purchased? Is it, you know, under offer?
We own the site.
So you're the actual site.
So we own the site.
Okay.
I think like the level of detail we've gone to is because, you know, with the pre-application, it's going to be something that, you know, I'm sure the planners will be aware of, but it is a new concept. So I think our preference was to give them a lot of information, and the planning site we're using are based in Brighton, and they have like they've done numerous sites down in Brighton, so they're like completely versed with all the policies and where it sits within policy. And again, we've worked with them to guide us to sort of where we've got to.
With the retail element, sorry, just one more question if I may. With the retail element, you say you haven't contracted any of the units yet. You may have seen in the last few weeks some publicity, really through our MP, James Davis, about a potential banking hub for East Grinstead, because Santander have recently announced that they will be closing, but they will not be closing until a new banking hub is established within East Grinstead. So the location of your site could work quite well for a potential banking hub. And I know that the town council, has had some discussions with, I think it's the Link company that do the cash machines that are doing these banking hubs that have been set up elsewhere. So it may be something that you'd like to consider
Well,
going forward.
Yeah, well, you'd be pleased to hear they inspected this morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Wow.
they inspected the
Beat
bar.
me to it.
They inspected the bar store. So my background is in retail property, right? So and as I mentioned from the beginning, we help major institutions invest in retail, retail parks, shopping centres, etc. So we have deep rooted connections in the retailers, and we know them extremely well. I'm happy to go on record to say this, and through that channel, we've been speaking to a number of parties, both. You'd be surprised by the names, which I can't disclose, but I can happily disclose the banking hub guys who came to me, and they inspected that.
Excellent.
But again, 1,500 square feet is at the very max. I mean, that unit is almost 7,000 square feet
Wow.
over 2 floors.
Yeah.
And you can see the quality, it hasn't been touched, the roof's caving in. I mean, it's,
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you. Have you got a date for a pre-app yet, or a suggested date from the district council?
We haven't, no. It was submitted a number of weeks ago. We haven't had an officer assigned, and just waiting today. There will be a physical meeting. I think it's important we bring them to site, we show them the context. But that'd be imminently. And hopefully, depending on the comments, the scheme will be refined where needed and, where we come to an agreement, and it will fall into an application. So it will be presented to you guys in the not too distant future as an application, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the final thing I would say as well, I mean, I can imagine you have these sort of meetings with a number of sort of developers, etc. But, as I said, we are deep rooted in East Grinstead. In fact, I fractured my shoulder playing for the Vets team on the weekend, unfortunately. And, we have a very, very long-termist view on the town. We're not in it to build, sell, etc. We build, we hold, but more importantly, we will deliver this scheme. We're not going to be selling it on to some, developer or whatever. We will deliver what we're trying to present here.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We're a lot of work to hang around if you wish, but certainly not obliged.
We'll let you go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if engineer, so.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Thanks, sir. Have a good evening.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great, okay. On that note then, we move on to item number 7, is Evergreen Farm. So I did mention very briefly in my chairman's announcements that we did have a site visit, a few of us. And only takeaway I've got before I gathered, I'm sort of to make a few remarks on that one. I know there's been a lot of concern about truck flows back and forth to the site. And I gather we are waiting for the relevant bodies to let us know exactly who that should be, so we can at least keep track of which truck firms are, lorry firms are using the site. Councillor Winterfeld.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just thank you for introducing, thank you for putting it on the agenda. I think it's important for the public record that it's come up a few times. It started in Public Services Committee in December and again in March. It was raised by our local action team. Two chaps that run that effectively run the Speedwatch scheme. So their eyes and ears are more colloquially called clerks of works of the town. I think they're really active guys, really good guys. Leo and Frank. So they raised it and flagged that the site had started. The site physically started on the 3rd of May. It's the field site next to Standen House, if you're aware of it. And it's a long-term project, it's a 2-year project for essentially filling the site, capping the site, and then eventually landscaping it. So because of the concerns raised at the Town Council in this chamber by the local action team, Councillor Gibson, very kindly, who's our county councillor and town councillor, arranged a site meeting exactly 2 weeks ago tomorrow with yourself, myself, Councillor John Belsey and Councillor Gibson. Very good meeting. We were on site for an hour, had walked around the site. We met the site manager, Paul, and the contracts manager, Frank. And they explained the scheme and the logistics. We asked a number of questions. We asked for quite a lot of information, technical information, for them to confirm back to us. And as at 2 weeks on, disappointingly, that information hasn't yet been received. I did chase the contracts manager by email on Monday this week, and I was desperately hoping to receive that this afternoon, so I could say tonight we had received it, but we haven't. So I'm a bit miffed about that, to be honest. So I'll go back to him again tomorrow. He's aware that the eyes of East Grinstead are increasingly on him, with particularly with traffic movements, traffic routes, numbers of visits, and some of the on-site wheel washing and site managerial signage issues, which come under the construction management plan. The permission was granted here, not by Mid Sussex, it was by West Sussex County Council for this site. So they have quite an extensive planning condition list, very extensive, as well as a section 106 document making certain other planning obligations on behalf of the developer landowner. So that information is outstanding. I'll keep chasing it. This particular week, there is, because Imberhorn Lane is closed for resurfacing, the lorry route, there had to be an alternative lorry route for this week. But from next week, it should revert, assuming the resurfacing is completed this week, the lorry route should revert back to Imberhorn Lane for a maximum of 25 lorry visits per day. So that's the latest for that. So I'll keep you, Chair, and the Town Clerk informed, and this committee informed of that.
Yes, it was certainly very exciting. It went off a bit on the upset. The gentleman, I forget the names because we're very quite was all the world, so
Yeah, they're very good.
yeah, it would just be helpful if we could get those confirmations.
Yeah, and the site is well set up. You know, they seem a very reputable, big national contractor, but the proof is in the pudding, and they've got to deliver day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out for 2 years. So, you know, we'll try and make sure that they do that.
Thank you for the update, Councillor Winstead, and for your continued monitoring of the situation. Any points or questions on that? That's it. Okay, so I guess we'll note that.
Noted.
Thank you. Item number 8, the proposed base station upgrade cornerstone. Yeah, good. Okay, sure, I think one. So that has been, a document was circulated in the agenda. I gather actual feedback to the contract in question has expired, but I guess we can, if anyone wants to make any comments for the record. I don't have any particular thoughts really.
It's a very tucked away location. People don't really notice that,
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah. But I mean, my immediate thought is if given Imberhall Lane is going to be a real hotbed for development in general, I can imagine doing it at the same time, but I'm not sure we've got to do throughout that. But is anyone else have further comments on that? We'll be happy to know.
Noted.
Thank you very much. Item number 9, an appeal notification for 7 Fairlawn Drive. It was dismissed. I gather, I did not have the most helpful details of that. So, was a loft conversion, roof extension, with roof light windows to the front elevation and the rear elevation. And the appeal was refused on ground of BP 26 plan EG, our own EG3, DG52 and paragraph 135 subsections A, B and C of the NPPF. But we didn't make any comments on that particular application from the upset and from the upset anyway. So did anyone have any comments on that refusal? Or we have to know that.
Just
Noted.
noted.
Thank you very much. So we can move to item number 10, which I believe is the main part of our agenda. So, oh, yes, we do have some trees on the agenda side. So there they are. Provided no one has any particular concerns or comments to make, I'd like to give those to the tree officer.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, I was a tad alarmed when I saw that a large beech tree was going to be felled to ground level. It has got advanced honey fungus, so we know. There we go. Can't really do much with that.
I'm not too sure what that is, but it doesn't sound.
Oh, it's not at all. So happy to, go with the tree officer.
That's it. Okay, really, but.
Just by, yeah, yeah, but you managed
Subject to
to.
any adverse response. Can I have a second?
Happy to second that, Chair.
Fantastic. Can I get a vote on that, please? Thank you very much. I thought you were going to not vote for your own second, but that's a god. That's good. Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much, Karen. So, onto the main applications. So, something we're very familiar with. The land theory of hospital, DM 242704. So as I said, I don't wish to comment in any way, one or the other, on this application itself, but I would normally hand over to my vice chair. So I just wanted to, obviously it's come to committee before. That plan there is, I believe, the latest of the plans. I think it's from March. And then these are also some of the latest plans, pretty similar to what we've already seen. I believe those illustrations of the 2 properties and then some further elevation plans for the site. And I did just want to make a couple of things go on record if the committee don't mind, but I will tread carefully. So a lot of representations have been made about landscape, trees, etc. And I just wanted to make a note of the tree officer. I think the last correspondence from the tree officer, I think March, whilst the plans show greater impact on the trees than original approval, in terms of future pressure, the tree officer is not considered sufficient for refusal on that basis. But the should consent be granted that the agricultural impact assessment method be conditioned. I gather also that another update is the whole development of the 36 dwellings are to be delivered as affordable rent by a registered provider, as a minimum of 40% as part of an S106 agreement. That may mean that S106 agreements have to be amended going forward, so which is space on that one. I gather there has been quite a lot of back and forth on also between highways and the applicant. So yeah, obviously there's been a number of objections on highways issues, which can be well understood. So I imagine there'll be further development on that front as well. I don't have anything more to say on that. I feel obliged to you did wish to make a comment as the ward councillor.
Yes, thank you, Chair. You've covered already a lot of what I was going to say in terms of the changes, but no worries. But yeah, you covered a lot of what has already been said. What I've written down here is that in terms of the new buildings themselves, the new changes, there's not been a lot in terms of the physical buildings, and the Mid Sussex housing officer has said no issues in terms of policy. They're all policy compliant. So moving on to that, there's been a lot of representation regarding trees. And we're having discussions with the town clerk and organising a site visit. We have invited the Mid Sussex planning officer to attend, and we are asking different councils from different levels as well to get involved. I don't have any update in terms of when that will be or the timings, but I know that an email has gone out. We're waiting on response at the moment, but we are trying to get this sorted. We are trying to get to know, because there is conflicting information. Residents are saying one thing and planning officers are suggesting another. There needs to be some kind of meeting so that Mid Sussex are up to date with what's happening on the site. And yeah, that's being worked on in the background. Other than that, I haven't got any other updates from my end of things.
Is there anyone else wish to make?
I'm just very concerned with the level of traffic on that road. The fact there's a school, the fact you've got developments at both ends, very excessive car parking before they even started. So it worries me. That's really what I want to say.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank members of the public for coming in, who I know have been very active, with many others in the vicinity of this particular site. It will come before the district council, one of the planning committees, not sure which one, but will certainly come before committee again, probably in 3 or 4 weeks' time. So there'll be another opportunity to come and speak and make representations. Thank you to Councillor Godwin for explaining from your point of view and the town council point of view a site meeting. I think that's very good. That's very welcome. And wish you success with that. And I think it's a good initiative. So well done with that. The revised scheme, whilst my understanding is that it's slightly more units. It is 100% affordable housing now, and clearly there's a huge need everywhere for that, but particularly in Mid Sussex. Mid Sussex district council do have a very good record of delivering social housing anyway, but I think this was felt jointly, but it was a good opportunity to increase the numbers on that. So all I would say is that there is an existing consent on the site. The previous scheme was consented. Well, I think it was 32 units from memory, and also that the site was originally allocated for housing back in 2002, so 23 years ago. The site was allocated under the small scale development housing site allocation 23 years ago. So it was original allocation. It's got an existing consent. So in planning precedent policy terms, it's got a very strong case. Additionally, obviously, between the consent of this, which I think was last summertime, 24, we've had the new revised NPPF, which has been issued by the new government in that time, which has beefed up yet again the housing delivery numbers for every district planning authority in the whole country, not just Mid Sussex. So those are three strong policy reasons for this application, but it will still go through the planning committee process and the whole due diligence, and the new there'll be a full planning officer report. The previous officer was Stuart Malcolm for the previous scheme. I assume it's still him. He's a very experienced officer, but with your site visit, and in answer to your question, would objections carry over? I don't think they would, but because that was part of a previous application and a previous consent. So this is a new application with a new number. So representations will need to be kind of made again. But yeah, sorry. No, I understand your. I understand your. I understand your frustration.
In 2002, it was turned down at public inquiry. In 2006, it should have been taken off the allocation.
Okay.
It is just ridiculous.
Okay, I understand your frustration.
My frustration. You can't.
Okay, right.
Just
Probably best if I stop.
Woodland.
Yeah.
Won't say any more.
Take the spade
Yeah.
away.
If I must stress that we do need to keep public participation to that. That's
Okay.
15 minutes of the.
I know that, yeah.
Yes, I
Frustration.
do appreciate it. Did you? Okay. Given that we have two people that wouldn't vote on anything tonight, this has come to us before. We could certainly continue by just adding the comments that we've made tonight onto. So unless anyone wants to make any particular recommendation on it, well, I guess I don't know if it's an issue if we're not two people voting. Yeah. Problem, do you think?
No, because you call it, so.
Yeah, we have.
No, you've got your core as in a committee,
Okay.
but only two of you are going to be voting, so.
If they recommend it.
Yeah, exactly.
Chairman, I do think it's relevant, Councillor Godwin, the points he made about the potential site meeting that you've got, because of the concerns, you want to raise those with the planning officer. If the deputy town clerk could minute that, because I think that's important, it reflects the feelings of the floor as well. And I think it's an excellent point raised by Councillor Godwin, so it's a good initiative as well.
I agree, and I think it would be helpful if we could encourage, actually, Councillor Godwin doesn't want to go with that, but would encourage councillors to make this available.
And the minute can reiterate the big concerns about traffic, in volume and in access, all the previous points raised. That I'm sure this committee raised previously.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know Councillor Mrs. Belsey, who's not here tonight, but she's also a ward councillor, and she raised all those concerns previously. So there's a lot of previous here.
Thank you for clearing up a bit about the previous representation.
Well, that's my understanding.
That does make sense.
It's a fresh application, means it's a fresh application. That's it.
Needless to say that even this time round, there's plenty of representations to be gone through anyway. Does anyone have any further comments, or would anyone like to make any sort of recommendation, or just to know what we said?
All I'd add, Chair, if I may, is that our previous decision was that our suggestion was to ensure that there was a construction management plan in place, and that was beefed up, and that conversations with local residents and with the school were had in terms of getting that construction management plan on the ground. I haven't heard or seen anything about that. Obviously, that won't really come until construction starts in full swing, but I would only comment that I would like to maybe see something on that, or something from the developers about how that would go about.
Okay.
So,
We probably labour that. Unless anyone else has any further points, we can move on.
Do you want to make an actual resolution to?
I don't think we should do anything, but someone might.
Yes, sorry.
No.
I'm not sure how it works in terms of, obviously, the site visit might change some things. It might show up if you could.
Again, a suggestion, Councillor Godwin, is that, Scott, to come onto your excellent work, why don't you request that you meet the planning officer on site? He gives you a copy of the construction management plan, because it should, at least a draft should be there. It's not the final version. And you wish to discuss that with him on site.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
It's just a suggestion. I
Councillor.
can't force him to do that, but
Thank you.
yeah,
But what I was going to say was, obviously, in terms of making a recommendation today, our site visit could change some things. It could throw up new information that we weren't aware of before, which I want to note. But I think what we should do is continue our approval of the site, of the development, with the previous comments that we made in terms of the construction management plan, but obviously with a very large comment too. We are having a site visit. That may change some things. Obviously, we can't go back and change our vote, but I just wanted to make that sure that was noted.
Which may or may not.
so, sorry, is there a recommendation of it? When you saw
It sounds like.
Recommendation for approval, but with the comments regarding construction management plan and also the site visit.
I'm not supposed to be doing it.
Oh, okay. Because I can't vote, so.
I mean,
You declared that you were, I don't think that has an impact on your vote.
Right.
You declared you're a governor of the trust, which represents the council. So I can't see that as being,
but you are.
degree of interest.
Mm.
Obviously, it stands for your,
I would struggle before the meeting with the site meeting to recommend anything.
unless you say that you will put in a recommendation of the site meeting, which you delegate it to the chair and vice chair.
I wasn't aware of that.
Can I make a suggestion then, potentially, that you defer the application until a site meeting is held
That was what I was
to
trying to-
discuss the concerns, mainly to do with the construction management plan.
Thank you for
And
that.
then-
Councillor.
It will be brought back to this committee, either at full committee or for a delegated decision, if that's appropriate,
Yeah, I think that's.
Between chair, vice chair and clerk.
Thank you for that.
Does that sound
Yeah, that is,
sensible?
that is.
Because I think otherwise,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's,
It wouldn't surprise me
I think that's the prudent thing to do tonight.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it did.
It's not a yes, not a no, but you've got concerns, you want to discuss it, and then get that message to the district council.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how we'd be able to
No.
take that forward if we rejected it.
No.
So approval seems
Sure.
most appropriate, but thank you for your suggestion, Councillor Winston.
That sounds. That would want
Absolutely.
Okay.
to set the recommendation that that will actually be
Yeah.
what we're doing. So thank you very much for your points of view. I think we've covered that one now. Thank you very much, everybody. Next up.
Deputy Town Clerk, are you okay?
Yeah.
You're okay? Yeah, okay. Okay, no, that's fine, as long as you're the boss.
No, that's fine.
Um,
Can I just ask a question? It's when you say the district council, do you mean
It's Mid Sussex, that's right. Yes, we do. Yes. I'm glad that was a question to answer. I don't always answer it. So, right, okay, next up is London Road. The active. Option ones. I've actually got the name. Am I missing? The name of the application is something.
The next one is the.
Oh, you have. Yeah. You have the trees will be part of the company. Okay, so, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Dennis, ladies, appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, so, the final of our actions to look at is the N24 3076, which is a change of use. 87 to 89 London Road. So this is the site location plan, obviously in Red Dead of London Road, Rocket East Point. Can I? Where's it? Oh, I don't know.
Hold it down. Have you got my number?
Oh, hang on.
There we go.
Technology.
Yeah.
I have.
Oh.
It's London Road. That's correct. So yes, yeah, it does fall into councillor. Oh my goodness, Councillor Scott is not here this evening. So it's. I can't remember how many meetings in the afternoon. I don't know. Anyway, the proposal for the change of use from mostly vacant office space. Oh yeah, I don't read it from there. Thank you very much. Change of use was largely vacant office space. Above a use class E retail unit to 5 residential flats. Revised plans received 27th of February 2025. This is the current floor plan. First and ground floor, first and second floor. And then in the next bit of the that. So obviously, this is the proposal with the units mentioned. There's quite a lot going on. I don't know when it comes to office space turning it into residential space, what kind of problems that might arise in terms of space for people to actually live in. So I think that would be worth noting that obviously that would come up against the relevant planning authorities' thoughts on how much you can actually get into that sort of space and people to actually live in a comfortable fashion. And then this is an outline of the street scene. So I gather that the actual material nature of the changes won't, the exterior will remain unchanged. That's my understanding. So questions of blending in with the street scene and things like that probably won't be too much of a concern in that regard. So we have the relevant, these are also the relevant retail units below, this is the floor above, and then I believe this is the rear elevations. Without Councillor Scott here to make a recommendation for himself, one thing I was going to say is I know there is an objection regarding the usual kind of infrastructure, adding more residential units, lack of infrastructure, services, that kind of thing, which obviously we do consider week in, week out in this committee. I'm not sure 5 residential units would be a massive burden on that. I think if the space being used at the moment is more or less vacant, I think it's probably on balance to make use of it in residential setting.
Chairman, can I just ask, these units, is it above Betfred and Subway?
So I was trying to work that over the weekend.
Because the left-hand side is the site from the presentation, the two guys that came out of the presentations.
Yeah.
It can't be the same site. It must be the Betfred and Subway.
Yeah, I did.
Bad. By looking at the chimneys, it seems to be Collingwood.
That's a good point. Yeah, that'll make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? I did try. As it happens, I did try and have a Google view of
Who's the applicant?
and
Does it say the applicant?
it probably does. I don't have it here. But that probably be worth looking at because
It's
probably.
Well, is it or isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, it's the same location, isn't it? But They're,
Okay, well, just John, just for
no, it's
just for the record.
I did actually look up to classification, but I'm actually sort of looking at what's the downside more than what's being proposed here. But it is the same location, absolutely, yeah. But I think Councillor Bobbins right, I think it is
Okay.
when I tried to do Google it, the area, it did come up with that part of the draft. So, anyway, and I know there is another representation regarding disability access, or the lack of it. And obviously the disability access we wish to see new developments in the town catering for disability access. While it's worth noting probably that we would keep bringing that, but if we do, but I think with something like this, it's fine for yours. And if there's not this disability access there now, I mean, it would be worthwhile maybe commenting if we wanted to, but it'd be worth looking at it. But I would on balance vote for you recommend doing this. And anyone who
I'm happy to second
wants to apart from
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've seen this over the last 10 years, Chairman, you know, time and time and time again, so much precedent that's been set. You know, minimum space standards will need to be, you know, conformed to under building regulations anyway. The district council will obviously check that as part of the pre-application process. And it's just more of the units above, you know, so yeah, I think I'd agree with your opinion.
any further points, we go to vote. Everyone can vote on approval, recommend approval, please. Thank you very much. That's the application out of the way. I believe the last point on the agenda is the outcomes of various decisions from your sensitive speech. Of which I think there's 3, and they are on the agenda and they all approved. And I don't think we had any comments ourselves about that. And it's worth mentioning that the Wix application that was on the agenda that we didn't speak about tonight, I believe was approved
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
So that's probably worth noting as well. But we made comments previously and it's been relieved for us to make any further comments on that tonight. Does anyone have any comments on that last? No, fantastic. Okay, I think that probably brings us to the end now. So I
I was about to say, Chair, is that the last planning committee of this civic year?
No, we had to vote for it.
Oh, we've got one more, okay. Oh, blimey. It's hard, don't they, the planning committee?
that does bring me to what also. Thank you very much. Thank you. Always helping there, Councillor. I did in fact omit to give my profound thanks for looking at the black arts of the year. When we met on Monday, so I'm going to take the opportunity to do that now. And I will continue to work with you guys for as long as we do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
And the date of the next meeting is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And I was just confirm which day of the week that is.
That's a Monday.
It's back to Monday. I can see it, right, okay.
I'm waiting to be on Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, back to Monday.
Are they going to be on Tuesday?
That's upon all we have.
Right, okay, and I'll bring this meeting to a close 20:06. Thank you very much, everybody.
Next week. So. Middle one.
I know. You know,
Is it-